Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Rav. I'm from Think Tax. And if you're reviewing this video, you're either a client or will be a client soon. So today I want to go through a template that I'm going to be using for self-employed individuals. It'll go through how you need to prepare it and the different things you need to watch out for. So the first tab here is called the client input sheet, and that is quite self-explanatory. This is the main sheet that you're going to be populating all your information on or your figures for the tax year. Now, the tax year runs on a calendar year basis. So if I'm doing your 2025 tax return, I would look at all the transactions that have occurred for January 1st, 2025, all the way to December 31st, 2025. Okay. So you only need to really concern yourself with this sheet. There are some on this sheet that you can populate, but very few. And then this sheet, you don't touch at all. This is for purposes. It's to help me, generate the tax return. And so, that's all. So now really the main focus here, as I mentioned, is this a spreadsheet. So first of all, I want to go through some of the categories here. The first of which is revenue. So how much money did you make during the year? So either you can get this from all the deposits that you received from the year and look at them, or I can take that figure from, your PLB, Square, PayPal, so on and so forth. So now, as we are going through here, there are different categories of transactions. So you have your purchases if you paid subcontractors, stuff that you've paid for advertising and promotion, delivery and courier, so on and so forth. There's meals and entertainment. Now, these are your general operating expenses and administrative expenses, as the title alludes to there. So as you go along, you'll see a laundry list of operating and administrative expenses. And then when you come here, we get into vehicle expenses. So if you use the vehicle for business purposes, whether it is like pick up to clients, stuff like that, we can claim some vehicle expenses. So if you incurred you would put basically your total cost of fuel that you did in a year, put the total, including HST, and I'll get to that in a second. The HST point, repairs and maintenance, any leasing costs, your vehicle insurance, so on and so forth. So parking for business as well, if you incurred those expenses. Now, if you bought any capital assets, you bought like a laptop or an iPad for your business, then you would put those amounts under this category specifically. Because generally we don't expense those items right away. We have to treat it like an asset, and then we expense it over a period of time. Now, as we get into home office expenses, here's another last sort of category here. So your heat, water, your repairs and maintenance, your insurance, your mortgage interest, your rent, or property taxes if you own the property, right? So either or there. So you can claim home office expenses if you're doing a lot of administrative tasks at home. Let's say you're booking clients, you're doing other administrative tasks, and you have like a principal business to go to. We can deduct some office expenses there. So again, you would put in the totals here, and then you'll see on the next tab we can prorate on the room or the square footage that you use for your home office. So that's how that goes. And then there's also interest on investments on loans. If you took out a loan to start your business that you're using to fund the business, then the interest on that you can deduct as well. And if you had to pay HST installments, that would go here in this column. So here we go here all the way. And so as I mentioned, I'll go through the spreadsheet. So let's take an example, for instance. So we'll put a date in. So let's say we incurred a transaction on January 1st, 2025. Say this was rent for January. So you want to make sure you put a description there, be somewhat detailed as you can. This one's pretty self-explanatory, rent for January. And then we'll go over to the rent expense here. and we will enter the figure. So let's call it $1,000. Okay. And that equals your total, right? So it's important to note when you're doing this to always put the total. Don't worry about the HST. Include the total amount you spent, including HST. So this $1,000 would be inclusive of the HST. Because what happens is on the other tab, it'll calculate the HST for you, so you don't even need to worry about it. Okay. So on this tab, you'll see that the rent is $1,000. It's backing out the HST for you, and then it's coming to a net amount. So a little bit off your plate. You don't have to calculate the HST, right? So if we do another example here, let's say in February 2025, we incur, let's say, office expenses, let's say pens. And the cost of that was, roughly $25. So to the appropriate expense. So we can call this office expenses. We can call it supplies. Those two are kind of interchangeable. So let's supplies, and I put $25 in there. Again, that's including HST. I want to hammer down that point. Include the HST. Okay. Put the total, because again, on this tab, you come here. It gives you the total including HST, and then it actually backs it out for you. Again, you don't need to worry about this tab, but I'm just showing you how it kind of flows through. If there are, expenses that, it's hard down per month or only occurs once per year, you can put it just simply on one line item and include the total here, right? So for instance, let's say, at the end of the year, which is just want to put your mortgage interest on your home, let's say, right? So you usually get a statement for that at the end of the year. Most people know it is on a per month basis. And so that one you could put like on a, right? Put the total essentially, right? For the whole year, as long as we have the total expense, right? Anywhere on this spreadsheet for 1 year. So if we go here, let's say it was $10,000. Okay. So we put that in, it calculates mortgage interest. The total there is 10,000, right? So we can do, instead of doing it on a per month basis, you could technically do that with other expenses. Let's say you knew your supplies was $100 for the year. You could put it all in one line, $100 per year. Or I do prefer for you to break it out per month, put the detail there, because let's say, the CRA comes in a detailed breakdown of, let's say, your advertising and promotion expense. Then basically you want to refer back to this, say, okay, it's made up of all of these expenses occurred on this date, not get that detail if you just put it on one line item for the whole year. So I prefer that way. It's better for tracking and for CRA sort of audit purposes. All right, great. So that good. Maybe let's here. So let's say on March, let's say 2025, we bought inventory. Okay. So if you bought it, that would normally go under purchases. Okay. So let's say you bought $15,000 worth of inventory in that 1 month. So I would put $15,000 here. And again, that is total, including HST. So you go here, it backs out the HST, and here's the net amount. Okay. Now, this spreadsheet is populated to capture all your expenses and revenues during the year. So it helps me fill out your tax return, also identify any anomalies. So that's good. And then as I mentioned, there's different categories here, right? So, hopefully that may, it's quite detailed. So, take the bank you normally do business in, review all the transactions. You can basically get an Excel dump. You can even copy and paste sort of the dates, the descriptions as well, and then manually key in the amounts here, right? And, it'll get a flavor of sort of what you're incurring, what kind of expenses are coming out. So it's a good exercise to do. Okay. So another tab that I want to mention here, and the only fields that you really have to do here is if we're claiming, then put the total kilometers here that you believe you traveled in the year. So total meaning both personal and business. So let's say it's 30,000 kilometers. Let's say you drove $20,000 for business. Okay. So that comes out the percentage of 67%. So once all the vehicle expenses are populated, then it would prorate based on 67% for business use. Okay. We don't have anything on the client input sheet yet, but if we did, let's do it right now. Let's say here, so let's say our vehicle insurance is just argument's sake. So we come here and then we see the 5,000 here. Okay. And then on the tab, you'll see the proration. You won't see it here, but you don't have to worry about this tab, summary 2125. That is for strictly for my purposes. So you do not need to do anything with that. Okay. So this is the only thing you really need to update. Okay. When you go, you can also update as well. So let's say you do use that home office for administrative tasks, or that's your principal business, perhaps. Then you would do a portion of the square footage of that office over the home. So let's say, normally I see. So if you put 10% there, again, if we had a client input sheet, then it would populate here the expenses and do a proration for us. Okay. So on this tab, summarize, all you need to do is fill out the yellow highlights here, which is basically calculating the percentage of home office and vehicle. Okay, great. So that is what I wanted to mention. So again, take your bank transactions, look at them, itemize them on a line-to-line basis here, put the dates, use all the categories, right? So we have about 1,000 lines, and then we can also create more if you have more transactions, but there's many, many, many lines for you to all your transactions on here. And again, revenues, if you're using, so I can just Square report or POS system report sales, or you could look at the deposits that's coming into your bank account. But technically, normally I'll take those sales reports. And the expenses is, as well, and populate them out. Okay. So pretty straightforward. That's helped. If you do have questions, do reach out to me, and then we can go from there. Okay. Great. Well,